Hello and welcome to a very special Sunday night stream. I'm trying something different on this week's stream, and I've got a couple of awesome guests waiting in the wings. We have got a specific topic lined up for tonight that's going to be controversial, I'm sure, to some. Hopefully, no one gets canceled. In the case that anyone gets canceled, it's all Mike's fault. This was entirely Mike's idea, the Horror Geek's idea, all him. He's forcing me to do this. So just in case. But before I bring on my guest tonight, let me do some shout outs here. Already got a couple of super chats. Thank you, Parker, for the $4.99 super chat. Stoked to watch later. Got to do boyfriend stuff. Just showing some love. Cheers, Piss. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Thomas Case, thank you for the $2 super chat. So ready. Bring it, gentlemen. We are going to do just that here shortly. There's the Horrible Show. How's it going? Wise Guy 101. How are you? Eric, Shosted, Gustavo. Brandon loves the movies. We got Dave here from Jersey. We got Alexis Horror. How you doing tonight, Alexis? Scratch Burno. What's up? Saturn Video. How are you doing tonight? Michael Sullivan. We got Bog Zombie, Anthony Munn. Excuse me. Mrs. Erica Lauren Horn Mason. Hello. Basement Blues. What's up? Andy Bagwell, how's it going? Antonis, what's up? RJ Skarinki, how are you tonight? Joe Legou. Hope I pronounced that correctly. But hope everybody's having a great night tonight. So without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on my guests. First up, you know him as the Horror Geek. If you know my channel, I'm sure you know the Horror Geek. I'm talking about the great Mike Bracken, he's my inspiration for growing out the beard. I'm on my way, not quite on his level. Someday, I hope. Mike, how's it going, man?
Hey, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here, and congrats on the beard. And thanks for throwing me under the bus in the intro.
Well, look, this was all your idea, Mike. This was all your idea. All
this
right?
was all my was it? I'm not afraid of controversy. You guys can come at me if you want.
Gotta have a scapegoat, man. Gotta have a scapegoat.
I'll throw myself on that grenade for you.
Oh, I appreciate that, Mike. But yeah, I'm sure everybody here knows of Mike's channel. He does some awesome stuff on his channel. If you're not subscribed to him, you definitely should do so. But thank you so much for joining me tonight, man. I really appreciate it. I've been a fan of yours for quite some time.
Yeah, I love your channel. I love your shows. I love the Jeremy videos. So I'm excited to finally get to do something with you. So
yeah, I'm excited to. I'm excited. Hopefully the first of many collaborations or whatnot. Yeah,
love it.
Yeah, right on, man. Also joining me tonight, he is an award-winning author. He is an audio commentator. You've probably heard him on any number of Blu-ray and 4K releases from companies like Arrow Video, Blue Underground, you name it. He's also the author of So Deadly, So Perverse, 50 Years of Italian Giallo. Troy Howarth, how you doing tonight, sir?
Good. I'm suddenly feeling, not for the first time though, follically challenged. I'm seeing these impressive beards, and I feel very inadequate.
Well, Mike, I'm sorry, Troy. Not everyone is as lucky as Mike and I when it comes to, I've at least still got some on top. It's
No,
but it's coming in.
it's gone. It's dead.
But Troy, it's a pleasure to have you here tonight too. I've been a fan of your audio commentaries for many years, so it's great to have you here too, man.
Well, thank you for having me, and much appreciated.
Right on, yeah. And look up Troy on Amazon. I think just about all of your work is listed on there, right?
Mm-hmm. All the books are on there. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely check him out. And yeah. We got another super chat come in. Horror Orman, thank you for the $2. I appreciate that very much, sir. So tonight we are going to be talking about movies that everybody loves, but we say meh. So you can look at it like maybe overrated movies or whatnot, just movies that everybody loves, but to us we're just like, I don't get it. It's just meh. So and trigger warning, probably one of your favorite movies is going to be one of our lists. So
almost guaranteed.
We've each got, I think, our top 5. I've picked maybe 1 or 2 extras just in case. I think Mike has picked 1 or 2 extras just in case. So, but yeah, we're gonna roll those out right now. And Mike, I want to get the ball rolling with you.
Oh,
go ahead and let us have it.
So my first question is, were we supposed to pick any movies or horror movies? Because I went all horror.
That's fine. That's fine. I didn't want to limit you guys to just horror. Mike, I'm glad you picked horror. I know Troy is mostly non-horror, right?
I thought it was pretty much anything, so I went in different direction. Perfect. Which is fine. No, but yeah, I'm sure we'll still offend people regardless, so it's okay.
Right. We're just gonna hit all the genres tonight. If you're any genre you like, we're gonna hit.
Yes.
So I hate musicals, so first one of the night, right? So it's the whole genre, whole thing.
Most of mine are horror, but I've thrown in some sci-fi.
Yeah, so. Everybody's heading for the doors already. Yeah. So my first one is I'm sure to be a little bit controversial. It's a movie that people bugged me to cover on the show for a very long time, and I finally did it last year. And I put it off for a long time because I'm remembered seeing it back in the early 80s on cable all the time and not really being a big fan of it. But I thought, it's been almost 40 years. Let's go back and revisit it and see if it's better than we remember. And that movie is Motel Hell.
Okay. All right.
I look at Motel Hell and I think all the time, like, I get why people like it because there's a certain nostalgia factor. Like if you grew up in the 80s, like like I did, I'm old. It was on cable a lot. You probably saw it a bunch. And it was kind of like, you just saw it and you started to like it because you saw it so many times. And then I think like the greatest thing that ever happened to that movie was the Fangoria cover with the pig mask and the chainsaw was like so sort of iconic to horror fans that you saw that and like I remember seeing that before I saw the movie and thinking like, oh my god, this movie looks amazing. There's a dude in a pig mask with a chainsaw running around, and then I get this goofy comedy thing with like Rory Calhoun. Like, I'm sorry, I don't find Rory Calhoun intimidating. Like, I like the guy. I'm not scared of him, and the whole tone of it is just so weird. And I get it, like the camp factor and all that, but I am just not like, I don't understand why people love it as much as they do. Not that I dislike it, just that I don't love it the same way so many other people seem to. Am I missing something? Is that, like I've seen it a bunch of times, but it has not changed for me.
I think it's probably that combination of it's horror, but it's comedy, but it's and Rory Calhoun is just, he's not intimidating at all, really. I mean, he's just kind of like that cowboy kind of, like, come on in, get you a drink, and then we'll eat you. We'll kill you and eat you. You know what I mean? So, but I
it just feels like the goofiest Texas Chainsaw riff.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I don't know. I guess I expected, and some of that's on me because you go into a thing and you have to take a film on its own terms. But there were certain expectations raised. Like if you lived in that era and you saw the Fango cover and things like that, that you were getting this really bloody, violent horror movie. And, you know, then you hear about all the things, how they kind of changed it. The studio interfered with it a little bit, and that, you know, the original script was much darker. I'd like to see that version personally, but
yeah. Okay. I'm okay. Right off the bat, we've got, and I know Motel Hell is beloved by many.
Are people killing me in the chat already?
No, we've only had a couple people like Motel Hell. But I yeah, exactly. A couple of people have put up their dukes. But if you guys want to share with us in the chat what your top 5 movies everybody loves, but you say meh are, please do so. I will say this: I asked people on my social medias today to post their lists, and it was just such a broad spectrum of just everything. So I mean, everybody's got their own, whatever the most beloved movie you can think of. There was somebody on my social media today who said, I hate that movie. So
of course,
it just, that's just how it goes. But all right, we got one down. Motel Hell from Mike. Good way to start things off. I like
right into the controversy.
What do you got for us, Troy?
Well, normally I tend to focus more on things that I like as opposed to things that I don't. But this is the theme of the night, and I'm going to say right off the bat, the 5 films that I've picked, there's really only 2 that I say I just don't like them. The other 3 are just movies that are, I get it. I understand why they're well regarded. I understand, I'm not saying they're bad films. They don't do anything for me. So having established that I have not limited myself to horror, I'm going all the way back to the year 1939, often regarded as kind of the great year of movies by a lot of people, especially classic movie buffs. And one of the all-time great, Sacred Cows, which is Gone with the Wind. Yes, that's the slamming of doors I can hear in the distance.
No, I'm with you on that.
How dare you? How dare you? I get it. I understand the appeal. Technically, it's a beautiful film. It's gorgeously shot. You cannot fault it in terms of production, its scope, its ambition. It's a big film, and it's extremely impressive on that level. I don't give a damn about the characters, and I'm not really into the story. So it's a long film, and it feels extra long when you're not invested on that level. I mean, I don't know why anybody is supposed to care about Scarlett O'Hara. I find her an insufferable brat the whole way through. I think the movie springs to life a bit when Rhett Butler shows up. I think Clark Gable's wonderful, and I'm not saying that Vivian Leigh isn't great. She's playing what she's given, and that character to me is just, I don't find her at all sympathetic. Knowing about all the great sort of casting things they were talking about back in the day, I always wonder, had they cast Vincent Price instead of Leslie Howard as Ashley, what would I think of this movie? Because I love Vincent Price. But yeah, it's one of those films that I think everybody should see it. If you're serious about movies, you absolutely should see it. It is a classic. It doesn't matter that I don't care for it, but there you go. I really don't care for it very much.
I'll tell you somebody else who doesn't care for that movie, and that's my brother Jeremy. You ask him about Gone with the Wind, he'll come right. Too long. too long and boring is what he'll tell you. And I agree. Yeah. So I'm right there with you on that one, Troy. So Jeremy and I both right there.
Definitely.
And we've got Barrett 8. It says, I've never seen Gone with the Wind all the way through. I get interrupted by phone calls or visitors. I mean, you've got to like clear out your schedule for like that kind of movie. You know what I mean? You can't just like, I'm just going to sit down one afternoon and watch Gone with the Wind. You've got to, turn the phone off, put the do not disturb on the door. You know what I mean? That's just not, I got some time to kill kind of movie.
It's a commitment film.
It is
a commitment film. Yes. Oh goodness, but that is a good one, Troy. That's a good one. So my first pick, I'm coming out the gate here swinging. My first pick is actually several films that's part of a series.
Oh boy.
That Mike knows where I'm going here.
I know where you're going.
I'm talking about all of the Scream sequels. And what I think is funny is for the longest time, people hated Scream 3 and 4. But since Scream 5 came out, there's been like this reevaluation of 3 and 4. And they're like, oh, they're great. They're awesome. It's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Scream 2 for me is okay. I think it's perfectly fine until we get to that back-to-back 45-minute killer monologue dump, at the end. That just absolutely kills the whole movie for me. And 3 and 4 I just don't think are very good movies. Part 5 is okay, but it's a carbon copy pretty much of the first. So what I always have said about the Scream sequels is they are the kinds of slashers that the original Scream poked fun at. And like nobody, like why would I don't get that. They're formulaic. They all have pretty much exactly the same beats. And you just know that last act, 30 minutes of it is going to be the killer reveal and monologue. And just
the Scooby-Doo moment.
The Scooby-Doo moment. Yes. And if you've got two killers, you get double. You get double it. It's like, I don't care. It's like, Sydney broke up with my cousin. I don't care. You know what I mean? Yeah. Oh my God.
She gave me the stink eye once.
Yeah. I gave her $1 and she only gave me back 3/4. So I decided to kill all of her friends and go after her. So yeah. And don't get me wrong. I love the original Scream. I love what it did for the horror genre. I was like 16.
I do not.
I know you don't. And I'll let you discuss that momentarily. I love what it did for the horror genre. It came out at the perfect time. I was 16. It turned all my friends who before horror was like, you never admitted that you liked horror. They all became horror fans. Horror was cool. And so I can appreciate what it did there, but the sequels for me are just all either meh or just not good. So
I'm fascinated by the reevaluation of 3 because that is a dreadful movie no matter how you approach it. It's just absolutely unwatchable. And it laid to rest that whole myth that Williamson had written this as like a trilogy from the start, because there's no way that crap was planned out from the first movie, like that it got that bad that fast.
You're in trouble if even Lance Henriksen can't pull your bacon.
Can't save your movie, right? Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's true. Yeah. So and I understand like there was an original direction for 3, but then the Columbine thing happened. And so the Weinsteins decided to take it in a different direction. And, according to Williamson, Stu was supposed to be revealed as the killer. And, it didn't happen. None of that happened. And then 4 was just like the stories I've heard from behind the scenes of part 4 are awful too. Cause like I won't say actors' names, but like they were making fun of Kevin Williamson. They referred to him as not Kevin, but Wes Craven. They referred to him as the old man behind the scenes, and just they were not nice to Wes Craven making that film. So yeah, and 5 is 5. I'll watch the new one. I've avoided the spoilers because they're out there. But I don't know. My expectations are different location. Same old stuff. So, but Troy, do you want to discuss why you are not a fan of the original Scream?
Well, I mean, it came out 96, so I would have been 19. So we're roughly in the same age bracket. And I remember going to see it because it was a big deal when it came out. And I think, like everybody, I love the opening. I think the opening is a fantastic little mini movie in and of itself. One of the best things that Craven ever did. I have to admit, of all the big horror guys, Craven's my least favorite because I think his output was the most erratic by far. I mean, don't get me wrong, Tobe Hooper after a certain point was not delivering, but he had a great run. Craven really never did have a great run. He would make a good film and a couple of crappy films. He'd make a good film, a couple of crap. And, you kind of get that sense of a lot of his movies that he's just kind of, he's just marking time until he can get another movie going. Then, he has this kind of, he wants to make the big mainstream respectable movie, and he gets his chance to do it. And he makes music from the heart. And it's like, why did you bother? I mean, who wanted this? So I was never really, I don't like that sort of snide, snarky, sardonic attitude in a horror film. I tend to think if you're going to do it, you might as well commit to it. There's room for humor. I mentioned Tobe Hooper. One of my favorite films is Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which
Mhm.
blends humor and splatter and horror and everything. It's brilliant. I love it.
Mhm.
Bride of Frankenstein blends comedy and horror. You know, it's I have no problem with that. I don't like the sort of snide, we're better than the competition vibe that I get out of Scream. I never did. And frankly, most of the actors in that film they just don't appeal to me. So the characters, I'm not really invested in what they're doing. You know, after that opening sequence with Drew Barrymore, it just goes straight downhill for me. So I don't know. I guess I just wasn't the right audience for that one.
Mhm.
That's always been my takeaway, and I've talked about this a bunch of times with the original Scream, is that Craven set the bar so high with the opening murder sequence.
Mhm.
There's nowhere for that film to go but down after that. Like, it's so good
Yeah.
that, you know, nothing. How are you going to fill another, 86 minutes of runtime on that same? You just can't. He made it so good that there's nowhere left for him to go.
And you can make that same argument even with Suspiria, where Argento
Mhm.
opens that film as strongly
Oh, yeah.
as most filmmakers would end a movie. And maybe that wasn't the best of ideas in some ways,
Right.
but it's still beautifully done. It's still
Mhm.
so atmospheric and so gorgeous, and it pulls you in anyway. So even if the rest of it isn't as good, it's still good enough. Whereas with Scream, to me, it was like you're starting off with a high, and then after that, it's all just sort of, you know,
Mhm.
it's better than a lot of films of its ilk, and certainly of the things that it wrought during that period, like
Yeah.
I know what you did last summer and all that sort of stuff that came in its wake. It's better than that. But like I said, maybe if I'd been 5-10 years younger when it came out, it would have made a different impact on me. I don't know.
We've got some love for Mike in the chat tonight.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
And actually, I'm surprised I am not being ripped
You're
to
not being
pieces.
bombarded with hell yes.
I'm not being like drawn and quartered by the chat. So I don't know.
So my complaint with I like the first film pretty well. I think it was an important film, and I consider myself a fan of it. I hate to because they lost me the second Jerry O'Connell starts singing "I Think I Love You" in the cafeteria. It's just so painfully terrible.
Yeah.
And actually, like, this is a testament to how bad the sequels are, that I probably like 4 the best of the sequels, and it's not good. So it's just like, to me, it's just less bad than the others. So
Troy, we got some love for you in the chat tonight too.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, right on.
yeah, we got a Troy book. All right.
There we go.
That's a classic.
Yeah,
you need that in your
the
library.
relic. 20 years old. Well, 21 years old now, I guess.
Yeah.
Wow. Mike, what's next on your list?
Well, it's interesting because Troy talked a bit about not liking the snide sort of humor in his horror films, and I'm going back to another horror comedy. So I don't have as much of an issue with the snide things. I kind of just for some reason the silly stuff kind of misses me. So I'm sure this will probably ruffle a few feathers. I do not like Steve Miner's House at all. And like people love that one too, like Motel Hell a couple years later. It just nothing in that movie works for me. I saw it in the theater again. I'm old. And then I've seen it on video and cable, and I've not seen it since probably the mid 90s, but I saw it enough times in the mid 80s to the early 90s to know that it's just not for me. I don't like William Catt as the lead. I don't like any of I think all the comedy misses in there pretty much. And I just like, and it's like so weird because I like horror comedies. Like I like recent stuff. Like I love Tucker and Dale versus Evil and all that. But like for some reason, the 80s horror comedies, a lot of those mainstream studio ones just miss for me. And that one misses big. Like that's one I actively do not like. And that's why, like, the comedy it feels poorly implemented. The cast should be great. Like William Catt is good, George Wendt is good, you got Richard Mall in there, you got a lot of good character actors in there, and Fred Decker worked on the script. So and Steve Miner's done Friday the 13th as a nice horror resume. Film just completely misses for me. I don't like the sequels either, though, except for the horror show. Just because the Lance Henriksen line. So.
Right.
But,
It's funny
I'm
you
not
should
trying to get you
mention. It's funny you should
demonetized.
mention that. I saw it. I saw it in the theater too. I guess that was like '86. I guess so. I was just 9 years old when it came out, and it was okay at the time. It's one of those movies I think about that I saw in a thing. I think of things like I was looking through the channels the other day, and there was a movie on called Monster in the Closet, which I saw in a theater. I saw Blood. What's that one called? Blood Rage, but they called it Welcome to Shadow Woods or something like that. I saw that in the theater. Transylvania 65000.
Yeah.
You can believe it. You know, all these things. I think, my God, there was a time when they showed this crap in theaters.
Yeah.
Now it's all direct to video, so it's a very different time. I miss it though. I miss going in blind to stuff like that. Sometimes you had surprises, sometimes you didn't.
Yeah. With House, for me, I've always liked it okay. It's not one that I revisit very often at all. And I've got them all on, except for I think 4 on Blu-ray. And the horror show, I mean, of course, so I think most people, when you go, well, the horror show's House 3, they're like, what?
Yeah, nobody ever gets that. Only my UK viewers, my European viewers get that, but nobody in America knew that was House 3 for some reason. So
yeah, and Fred and Decker's original script was darker. It was a darker movie, and Miner and Cunningham decided to take it in this more comedic level, and it's going to be rebooted or remade or whatever.
Oh, is it really?
I
hope it's better. I feel bad about not liking it because like I said, I like most of the people involved with it a lot. Like, Miner, Cunningham, Fred Decker, the cat, I like the cast. It's just one of those movies that's like, it just never has clicked for me. The comedy just completely misses me for some reason. So it's just like, it's just painful to sit through every time I've sat through it. So
a lot of people in the chat are saying they like part 2 better.
Yeah, I would probably go along with that. I like the horror show the best, but again, Lance Henriksen, like, he can pull almost anything out of the fire. So
yeah, he can help a lot. Thank you, Tac Dad, for the $1.99 super chat. He says Napoleon Dynamite is crap. And Rocky, I think he means Rocky Horror Show.
Yeah.
Horror. Yeah. That's one I've never gotten into either, is the Rocky Horror.
That was almost on my list, but I was like, I'm doing horror movies, and I don't know if we're actually going to classify this as horror because it's a musical. Is it a horror musical?
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's always eluded me. I think that one, if you see it live with a crowd and the performance art, maybe it works better. But yeah, I had a buddy who insisted on showing it to us the night it came out on VHS. Like, it was such a big deal. And I'm like, we're like 20 minutes in, and I'm like, this has been on 6 hours already, hasn't it?
You want to see a movie that's like Rocky Horror Picture Show? It's a sort of horror-esque musical film that's good. Watch Brian De Palma's Phantom of the Paradise. That's a wonderful film.
Yes.
That might actually be my favorite Brian De Palma film. And that's good. That's a really good film. I think it's much better. Much better. And I think the songs are a lot catchier too.
Troy, what's next on your list?
I say it's such a weird list because we're over here talking about House and Scream sequels, and here I am talking about very different movies. But I'm gonna I've made my list and I'm committing to it. This is a movie that is certainly beloved by many people. I've had this conversation with many film buffs who just they think this movie is hysterically funny, and it doesn't make me laugh at all. It's called It's a Mad World. 1963 big mega comedy with a huge cast: Spencer Tracy and Sid Caesar and Terry Thomas and Buddy Hackett and all these big names of the period. And it's one of those movies where everybody is screaming their lines because this is the height of comedy, and to me it just gives me a headache. I do not find it funny at all. I love a lot of the people in the movie. It's directed by Stanley Kramer, who made a number of really good films, tended to make serious, like, social issue movies. Judgment of Nuremberg, for example, great film. He's responsible for The Defiant Ones, another great film. This is not a funny movie from my point of view. And I know many people love it. So I think comedy and eroticism are probably the 2 things that are most subjective in the world. The things that are going to make you laugh and the things that, get you off are probably incredibly personal, and this just doesn't work for me. I do love comedies, I assure you. I love a good laugh, but this movie just goes, and it's another one. It's a long movie, and if you don't like it, it feels 3 times as long.
That one I've never seen. Mike, have you seen that movie?
I did back in college in film studies course.
Oh, wow.
And my reaction was much the same as Troy's.
Everybody is so, I mean, Spencer Tracy can do no wrong. I mean, but all these people, they're just so amped up and they're screaming and shouting and flailing, and you can tell they think it's so funny. And I'm just like, I want to laugh too, but I can't laugh at this. I think it's obnoxious. I can't stand the film personally, but to each their own.
Brandon loves the movie. Says interesting chat so far. No lies or bullshit. I know for me, someone I find talented yet overpraised is easy. David Fincher. Yeah, I said it. Talented but very overpraised. You guys want thoughts on David Fincher?
Well,
I'm very mixed on Fincher.
I'm probably mixed. I think Zodiac is kind of a masterpiece. I love that film. I loved Mindhunter, the TV show that he was responsible for. I wish it would come back and get finished. Some of the other stuff I'm more indifferent towards, but I mean, he's talented, but he's not somebody I'm passionate about.
He made The Game too, right?
Game?
Yeah, that's the one I like. I'm not a big fan of Seven. That would actually should have been on my list because I don't enjoy Seven all that. I mean, it's okay, but I'm not. And keeping with that David thing, the one I would always get in trouble for is not Fincher, it's Lynch. Like, I'm not a big David Lynch fan. So like some of the stuff is okay, but a lot of it, like, I'm like, could live without it. So.
I'm a recent convert to the Church of Lynch. Funnily enough, over the last couple of years, after years of just being like, I don't like this guy's, I always like The Elephant Man. I can only watch it so often because it absolutely wrecks me every time I see it. Just makes me bawl like a baby every time I see it. But the other ones, I was like, it's pretentious nonsense. But within the last couple of years, something clicked, and I just found myself really liking his movies. So I guess never say never on that one. If you ever feel inclined to go back and look at them again, you never know. For me, he clicked eventually, but it took a long time.
I'd say for me with David Fincher, I've liked pretty much all of his movies. And I do love Seven too. We were talking about Alien and Aliens before we started the show, and I brought up Alien 3. I'm a big Alien 3. Like I like Alien 3 a lot. Like I don't know. I like the assembly cut, preferably. And there's just something very dark and very nihilistic about that movie. And I don't know, it sort of took it back to the basics and away from the big action, over the top thing of aliens. And I've always appreciated that movie. I would have loved to have seen Fincher's, true vision for Alien 3 come through, but that never happened. All right, next on my list, and it's funny because again, when I asked everybody on social media to post their own lists, this movie popped up so many times that I went ahead and booted it off my list, and that was Avatar. But I do want to mention Avatar briefly because it looks great. I got into the story, even though I've seen that story a million times over, the Dances with Wolves story. I liked it for what it was. And then I moved on and I've never watched it again. And I have no desire to watch it again. I have no desire to watch any of the sequels, but I thought that movie was pretty loved, especially since part 2 had come out and had done really well. But apparently there's a lot of people. That was one movie that like almost at least like 3 out of 5 people had Avatar on their list. So I was like, okay, let's get rid of Avatar. I do want to mention it though, but yeah. So Avatar was on my list. But I'm going to throw out, this is one from a few years ago that everybody just fell in love with. And it was from, let's see, Ari Aster. And he had just come off of Hereditary, which I adored. I loved everything about Hereditary. So maybe I went into Midsummer with elevated expectations, but I just found Midsummer to be an absolute snooze fest. And I really disliked the lead character played by what's her name, Florence Pugh. Yeah. I didn't like anything about that movie, and then I discovered, like, people are really up on that film, like it's elevated horror. Like
all those A24 films, people like the non-horror people really go nuts over that.
Yeah. So there was a lot. I think there was a lot of that sentiment of, well, you just didn't get it. And I was like, okay, well, what's there not to get? Really. It just wasn't my thing. I'm not a fan of it. I know it's got a lot of fans, but it's just, I don't know. I found it boring. I didn't like the characters, and that's it. So
I like the film. I don't like that term elevated horror, because
Right.
it's this kind of snideness to it that
mm-hmm.
seems to think that it's limited to this kind of recent run of movies, A24 in particular. And I actually like almost everything A24 that I've seen. I don't dislike them at all, but I dislike this kind of mentality that it's like this is somehow this core group of people have somehow cracked this sleazy genre and have made something elevated out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like that mentality at all. I mean, you could just as easily call John Carpenter or George Romero or any number of different people elevated horror as well, and they don't tend to be called that. So that attitude I don't like, but I did like Midsummer. I know some people kind of dismissed it as a rehash of The Wicker Man, and there are similarities, but I wouldn't say it's kind of taking a similar thing and doing something a little bit different with it. It worked for me, but I can understand. I saw the long cut as well, and I don't know if that would be preferable or not preferable to, if you saw the shorter one or the longer one, I don't know, but that's the one I saw, and I liked it, but doesn't surprise me that some people would not be able to get into it.
What do you think of Midsummer, Mike?
I'm very mixed on it. Like I appreciate what A24 is doing. It's really hard to set, like we were talking before the show, the art and the artist. It's the same thing with the film company and the audience, like, because I don't think they're the ones out there pushing this, that we're making the elevated horror thing. We're just making horror films that are, that speak in a way we want to, on points we want to make and themes and things like that. And people have latched onto that and called it elevated, but it's really hard to separate that sort of, this is what elevated horror is from these films, and like not roll my eyes every time I see one. So, but yeah, I think they're interesting films. I've not had enough. I don't think we've had enough time with them yet to really determine, like, are these going to be classics, or where are they going to fit in the, the pantheon of horror cinema as time goes on. But I think they're interesting. I could live without elevated horror the same way I could have lived without the whole torture porn thing. Before that, like, it's when you let the mainstream audience come in and start dictating the terms of the genre, I think we always get in trouble there. And so, but it's really hard to not hold that against those films because of the audiences, but I try not to. So
yeah. And I've liked most of what I've seen from A24. I think they're definitely making the most interesting genre films, or genre bending films today. That's for sure. But I mean, I think if you released Juan Piquer Simone's Pieces under an A24 banner,
people would tell you it was elevated. Yes.
People would go, this is a brilliant
this is a meditation on the college experience and socioeconomic issues affecting Eastern Europe.
coming from the Criterion Collection, Juan Piquer Simone's Pieces on 4K.
Oh god, yeah.
No, it's 100% accurate.
Oh Jesus, and I love Pieces with every bit of my heart. I want to see a Pieces A24 remake, but it's like a straight shot for shot remake.
You know what's so funny about it is like the whole elevated thing is like, I see people now who want to take, they want to take those films and call them elevated horror and raise them above horror. And then you have another group in there that complains that there's too much message to them. There's too much subtext. There's too much of all that stuff. And it's like, man, you just can't win if you're A24 right now.
You know what? It's the new version of what they always used to do, where when a classy filmmaker would make a genre film, it's not a horror film; it's a psychological thriller.
It's a thriller, yeah, like Silence of the Lambs.
Silence of the Lambs is psychological. No, it's a horror film. The
Yes.
Exorcist is a horror film.
Horror film.
You know, it's okay. And I understand some people, certainly there are actors and so forth and directors associated with the genre who never liked the term. Boris Karloff, Christopher Lee, Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, Terrence Fisher, a number of these people all complained about the term because they thought it was, you know, kind of misleading, but it is what it is. I mean, that is the term. We don't call these films terror films or shock films. We call them horror films. And so we must accept that that's what it is. And it doesn't matter whether you're Mario Bava or whether you're William Friedkin. I mean, you're working within a genre. That's what it is. And it doesn't do to get too precious about that. So for years, it was that. It's not a horror film. You know, it's a psychological thriller. It's a psychological drama about faith. It's The Omen, for Christ's sake. It's a horror movie. You know, come on.
Yeah.
Gregory Peck was on, I think it was Johnny Carson. I found a clip of him promoting The Exorcist, or promoting The Omen. Incredibly well-spoken, erudite man, but the way he contorted himself to avoid using that word was just, it's like, come on, man, say it.
Just say it.
Yeah. But damn it, now I'm wanting a Criterion I want a Criterion 4K of pieces and slugs. Give us both. Yeah. Oh my God.
Absolutely.
Slugs would be like, oh, it's a mind-bending meditation on man destroying their own environment.
Right.
It's planet Earth.
It's an environmental film.
It's an environmental
environmental message.
Exactly.
Check your privilege.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh geez. Oh God. Oh, I don't even. Where even are? I think where are we?
I think we're back
on. Okay, we're back on mic.
I thought because you set me up again. So we went from House, from the comedy to House, and now we're gonna go from Midsommar to a movie I'm sure will annoy people that I don't like and have never liked, and that is The Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man. It has never clicked with me. That is a movie I have wanted to love my entire life. Like everything is right, should be perfect in that movie. I think the problem for me is I don't like musicals, and there's a lot of singing in there, and so that always puts me off. And it just feels like a lot of work to get to a really cool ending. So I think Woodward is good in it. I think, Christopher Lee is fantastic, obviously. The idea of it is really great. I could live without all the singing and dancing and it's sort of integral to the plot in a way. So me complaining about it is like, well, you just don't like the movie. So yeah, I have watched that thing. I literally, it's like Blade Runner for me. I pull out Blade Runner and I pull out The Wicker Man at least once a year and say, all right, I'm going to figure out why I don't like this. And then why I should why I'm going to finally become a convert. And it never works for either of them. I've seen like 700 cuts of Blade Runner at this point, I think, trying to find the one that works. And it just never hits for me. So
yeah, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of The Wicker Man. I will say this though. The Nick Cage remake blows it out of the water.
It's certainly very different. Yes,
it's got the bees, man.
It's got the bees, man. Nick Cage. Nick Cage elevates everything. Just imagine a Nick Cage, Lance Henriksen buddy cop.
Can you imagine? I'd be in line for that day one.
Directed by Werner Herzog.
Yes, please, yes. If only Klaus Kinski were still alive to be the bad guy.
And it has to be elevated horror.
A24 will produce it.
Yeah.
I will be the Wicker Man pundit here. I do love the film, although it's funny you mentioned about musicals. I'm kind of allergic to them in general myself. I don't get it. It's like Gone with the Wind. We're running from the Nazis, but we're going to stop and sing a song. Or West Side Story. We're a tough gang, and we're going to break into song and dance. It doesn't work for me. I don't get it. It's a fantasy, and it's really, it's no more absurd than the idea of vampires or people sprouting fangs and turning into a werewolf or whatever. It's a bridge too far for me. It's not something I can get into. So it's funny that I actually do enjoy The Wicker Man as much as I do, because theoretically, at least, everybody but you see, I think one of the reasons I don't mind it in The Wicker Man, and I don't mind certain musicals, is because it's about the context. So if you're like, you have a theatrical type setting where it makes sense, like New York, that they're it makes sense that there are songs and dances and things going on. versus that kind of thing I was talking about before, like Sound of Music, where to me, why are they stopping and singing? This doesn't make any sense to me.
It's like the
in
found
this
footage complaint.
Yeah, exactly. And in this context, because of what's going on in the island and the pagan traditions and everything, to me, it makes sense. So I can accept it. I love Woodward. I love Christopher Lee. Obviously, he's my favorite actor. So, I mean, to me, that movie's just tremendously. And every time I see it, it's just an absolute kick in the gut when he gets to the ending, because he's such a prick the whole way through. You can't see, such a stuck-up dullard. But you get to the ending and you're like, oh. So it's really, it pulls an interesting trick on that level.
And I love the end. Like, I just, like, every time I'm like, this ending is so good. I wish there was just like the lead up to it worked better for me. So,
well, you mentioned the 800 different editions or versions of Blade Runner. I think I own them all. There's something in me, like I love Blade Runner. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite movies, but like, if there's a new edition or a new cut of it, like, I have to buy it. I don't understand. Like, I've got 15 different cuts of Blade Runner: the director's cut, the studio cut, the Harrison Ford cut, the Ridley Scott cut, the
the hairdresser cut.
I was going to say
delivered coffee to the set cut.
Yeah, exactly.
The caterer cut. Yeah,
that's what I was going to say. The
services table.
Yeah. So,
I do that same thing with that movie. Like, I pick up every version that comes out because it's a movie, like, you just ever have a movie that you just want to love, like, this should be my thing, and then when it misses you, you're like, I don't understand. And like me, I have to go back and like try to figure out why, or in that case, like, oh, maybe this is the version I needed to see, but it never quite comes together. Like, I love the cast, I love the idea of it, but like, it's one of those ones where the pieces are right, but the whole just never gels for me. So,
did you like Blade Runner 2045?
I haven't even seen it.
Oh,
I have not even seen it. Yeah, it's on my list. I'm a little nervous because of my history with the first film. So
give it a shot, man. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I liked it, but I like the original too.
Yeah.
So, there was an interesting question in the chat here, and let me see if I can find it. Richard Stange says, "Is there honestly a human on the planet who doesn't like Jaws?" But,
I guarantee there is.
Yes,
I guarantee there probably is.
I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't, though.
No.
Oh, no. Can you guys think of a movie that you've never heard anyone speak ill of, like a universally loved?
The Breakfast Club.
Okay.
I've never heard. Now, one of you will probably come and say, I fucking hate that movie.
I love it.
And that's fine. But I've never heard anybody knock it. Jaws would be a good choice too. I've never heard anybody. I don't know how he couldn't like it, but I guarantee you there's somebody who doesn't like it.
I've run into a couple online who think it's like too slow and that it takes too long to get to the shark, and it's what's funny, it's all the same criticisms that get leveled by the younger generation at Halloween as well.
Right.
It's too slow, it takes too long to get going, and like there's just a different sort of mentality about how film should move from
movies
like
are paced differently today.
When I go back and do these videos for movies from the 70s and 80s, there's definitely a way slower rhythm to them, so I get what they're sort of like, well, we're used to these Michael Bay every 2.5 seconds there's a cut, and,
right.
So but my vote would probably be, I think everybody loves The Godfather 2, and I think everybody loves Empire Strikes Back.
Okay.
I think those two, I've never heard somebody say they don't like Empire or The Godfather 2, but I'm sure someone does.
I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I would say that's the best of.
That's the best.
I mean, of the six I saw, I didn't bother with the later ones too much, but Godfather, of course, again. But I'm sure
somebody
else.
There's some
people, you'll find
somebody
out there. Yeah.
Now there is somebody who I know hates The Breakfast Club, and I just want to see if they have the guts to chime in the chat. I don't know if they're watching for sure or not, but
it won't offend me. I mean, I think it's fine. I think it's okay for what it is. It's not one of my great favorites or anything. I pops into my head because I've talked about this before, and it's like, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about that movie. It's one of those. It's kind of vanilla, you know. It's like, how can you hate vanilla? I mean, it's just you either love it or it's okay. It's vanilla. I don't know.
Yeah, and Jaws would be the. I mean, I love Jaws to death. I've seen it a million times. It's one of my favorite movies. Like
Oh yeah.
even by today's standards, it's a little slow. It takes a while for the shark to pop up, but there's so much good going on in that movie until we get to that point. But like Mike said, the younger generation says, Halloween is boring. They say Friday the 13th is boring. They say Chainsaw is boring. They say Dawn of the Dead is boring. It's, you got to have those, something's got to happen every 3 to 5 minutes. Or
Kubrick was not fast enough for the younger generation.
No.
Geez. Let's see. Troy, what's next on your list, man?
Well, it's funny you should mention Kubrick because I've got a Kubrick film, and I hate to do it because I love Kubrick. I'm a huge fan of many of his films, but this is one that may well get some people riled up. Although if people aren't getting riled up about Scream, I don't know. Maybe they won't. Clockwork Orange, I have to admit, is a film that does not connect for me. Technically brilliant though it is, and looks fantastic and all of that. The music is phenomenal, and I especially love Patrick McGee in it as the writer who gets crippled and takes his revenge on Alex. I think that's an extraordinary over the top performance that I love. I find it ideologically confused as hell because it wallows in and makes light of the type of violence that it's kind of condemning. And so it's kind of making a hero out of Alex at the same time, sort of condemning it. To me, it's very, very confused and I don't know that they really quite had worked out precisely what it was they were going for. I suppose it was meant just as a provocation, which it is. I mean, to this day, it's still a very provocative movie, and it inspires strong reactions in people. So, the fact that I don't care for it isn't really going to matter a jot in the big scheme of things. But it's the one that I think smug is the word that I would use in relation to this film. There's something about this movie that I find very, very borderline fraudulent and off-putting on that level. As brilliantly made as it is, and maybe because it's so brilliantly done, because I know what Kubrick is capable of, and I love his other films for the most part anyway. This is one that just doesn't do it for me.
Wow.
Mike,
I know
I'm shocked by this one. I really am. But I think you make an interesting point, because I never really thought about it that way, about, the sort of muddled messaging of it. Now I'm going to have to go rewatch it with that in mind, because I haven't seen it in a while. Would you think that like something like that is sort of like almost analogous to how people have misinterpreted Fight Club and Tyler Durden, the way they've sort of made Alex an anti-hero? And
Fight Club's an interesting case, and Fight Club's one of those movies I'd put it in also with things like Scarface and Godfather and Goodfellas, where it's embraced by certain subcultures of people as kind of like you want to live this lifestyle, and it's like they watched the first 2/3 of it and they turned it off before they got to the last act where everybody dies. It's like they don't realize the message that these are ultimately morality stories. These people get caught, and it's not a good thing, and the fact that Fight Club is definitely not arguing that this is a positive thing that we should be aspiring for, but somehow or another people get confused by that. I think my issue with Clockwork Orange just comes down to the fact that I feel like, and I've read the book too, and the book is rather different, and I obviously things get changed when you do adaptations, and it's to be expected, but I seem to recall finding the book rather more coherent and a little bit more clear, whereas there was something in the way that McDowell was presented in the film that I find slightly contradictory in a way that doesn't sit well with me. It's kind of like the ending of The Devil's Rejects, which is a film I don't care for, where we have this sort of bizarre romanticizing of this clan of murderers. The Freebird scene at the end of the film, like we're trying to turn them into folk heroes or something. It's like, these are white trash killers. What is this? Again, to me, it just strikes me as a filmmaker who hasn't quite thought through what it is that he's precisely doing. He just gets caught up in a really cool moment. And somehow or another, we're supposed to kind of feel something for these group of psychopaths, and that again doesn't sit well with me. So that would be another example I would think of.
Well, Troy, listen, you can talk crap about Stanley Kubrick any day. Don't ever talk crap about don't ever talk crap about the filmmaking of Rob Zombie on my show.
The man,
all
the
right?
myth, the legend. So is the Munsters on your list of beloved movies?
It's number one. All right. But I agree with Mike. I've seen Clockwork Orange many times. I like that movie, but you do like Alex, regardless of what he's doing, who he's doing it to. He is a likable character, and I don't know. Maybe that was Kubrick's intention to conflict you, and then he goes
Maybe.
through his whole thing where he's rehabilitated, and I don't know. I like the movie a lot. I don't know. I may I mean that does put it in a whole other perspective of I don't know. I knowing Kubrick the way that or knowing his work the way that I do, I think that had to be there was something behind that. He
I'm sure there was.
Yeah.
I don't doubt there was. It doesn't work for me ultimately.
Mhm.
That's one movie where I just feel like something is not connecting. I love most of his films. I mean, the ones that flank it, right before he did 2001, right after he does Barry Lyndon, they're both great films, and many others as well. But that's just something about that one just doesn't sit with me. But
yeah,
I'm in the minority there because that's a very beloved film.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really interesting take on it because that had never occurred to me before. So now I have a new way to look at it next time I watch it. So that's very cool.
Yeah. Oh, we got a super chat here from my buddy Nico. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Another fantastic night. Sorry I'm late to class. Well, Nico, I actually called you out a little earlier because you were and I'm sorry to call you out again. I didn't call you out by name earlier. I know you don't like The Breakfast Club. And if I recall correctly, you hate The Breakfast Club. And that's okay. That's okay. We were talking about...
Yeah, we're not here to judge.
We were talking about movies that are universally loved, that we've never heard anybody speak ill of. And Troy threw out The Breakfast Club. And I was like, I know one guy. But and I've actually seen a couple other people in the chat who've said, yeah, it's not my cup of tea either. But anyway,
thank you. How old they are. I think if you were our age, like it probably resonated more because that was like how we went to high school.
Possibly.
But thank you, Nico. I appreciate that, and I apologize for calling you out. But you did post it on social media that you hated. So I mean, you've wear it on your sleeve, my friend. Wear it on your sleeve. But thank you. I appreciate that, man. All right, moving on to me. Let's see. Let me go to my list here. Let me find something that's going to ruffle some feathers for sure. All right, here we go. All right, I'm just going to throw this one out there because this is a movie that came out a few years ago, and the first time I watched it, it was immediately hyped to the moon. It was like it was on so many people's best of horror movies of that year list. And when I saw it, I thought, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I like it. And every subsequent time I've tried to revisit it, like I can't even get through it. And that's The Babadook.
That was almost on my list.
And like the Babadook's a strange movie because like I've never heard anyone speak ill of it, and it's been embraced by so many people for various different reasons. Like the Babadook itself has become like this LGBTQ icon, like the Babadook, the character. Like I don't really get that, but whatever. So, but yeah, every time I've tried to go back and revisit that movie, like I can't even get through. So
yeah. I don't dislike it, but I never understood why people were so. It's one of those ones, like it's perfect for this show because I'm just meh about it. I don't dislike it. I don't love it. I'm just sort of indifferent to it. But I'm endlessly fascinated by why people like it as much as they do.
Mhm.
Like I know a lot of people who will list that as the best horror movie of the 21st century so far, and I'm like, I don't see it. So
Yeah, I don't see that, and yeah, I don't see that at all either. And there's actually a lot of people are not saying very nice things. There's not a lot of Babadook defense in the chat. I'm noticing
no.
here.
Oh, how
No,
about that?
not.
We found our people.
We must have.
We
Yeah,
found our tribe.
I thought for sure there'd be some like, oh, Piz, you're awful. But
Does Troy like it though? Maybe Troy's gonna stick up
Troy,
for it.
I do like it. Yeah, I do like it. Jennifer Kent is 3 for 3 for me at this point, I guess, because she did another film called Nightingale, which I liked very much, and then she did an episode of Cabinet of Curiosities, which I really liked
Oh, I
as
haven't seen
well.
that.
I think it was called The Murmuring, which I thought was very good. So she's up there for me with people like Ari Aster and others of that ilk as really interesting directors in this kind of field in the 21st century. Fresh blood, which is desperately needed. So I liked it very much. I liked the Bava homage, of course. Naturally, the reference to Black Sabbath definitely made me smile, and I thought it was very effective. I have encountered a lot of people who don't like it because they can't stand the kid. And my whole thing is, well, the film is dealing with very difficult themes and very difficult kinds of concepts and so forth. Single mother raising a severely autistic child and so forth, and trying to have her own life and trying to explore her sexuality and trying to have a life as just a human being, but dealing with this incredibly difficult child that's incredibly demanding of her time and her attention and everything. I was like, working in the field that I work in, with young children who have developmental disability delays and so forth, I see a lot of truth in the film, and so on a certain level, I think it plays for me in a way that maybe people who aren't exposed to that, or maybe don't have any awareness of that, might not quite pick up on it the same way, because a lot of the stuff isn't really spelled out in the movie. It's just kind of there, and you have to work it out for yourself. And there's also a good point to be made that you don't have to like the child just because he's on the spectrum. You don't have to. You can still find him to be a pain in the ass, even though he's got problems. So it works for me. But I get it. I do. I understand. If you, it's like we'll go back to Kubrick for a moment. If you don't like Jack Nicholson's performance in The Shining, you're going to hate that movie. That's all there is to it. If you don't like that performance, which is exactly what Kubrick wanted, you are not going to like that movie because he's so central to that whole experience. If it doesn't work for you, forget it. The movie's not going to work. And I'd say the same thing is probably true of the child in this film. If you can't tolerate that child, you're in for a tough ride.
Yeah, and I think that was what endeared me to the movie the first time, because I work with adults that have developmental and intellectual disabilities, and my brother has autism, so he's still a little annoying, but I get it, right? So the kid's never really been that much of an issue with me, and I think that's what endeared me to the movie a little bit the first time. It's just everything else that just kind of I can't get into upon future viewings. Just totally just can't get into it.
It's
ahead,
interesting to me that I think like what Troy said about her being like sort of new blood, I'm very interested in seeing what she continues to make. Like there's enough in that film that you can see the craftsmanship, that she has talent. And so I'm infinitely interested in seeing what she does next. I haven't seen the Cabinet of Curiosities episode. I know she did one. I have to go watch it, but I'm getting all kinds of stuff to watch from this stream tonight. This is good. But yeah, so I'm definitely at, and like I said, for me, it's not a dislike. It's just like, I know people really love it, and I don't really love it, but I don't, it's just sort of there for me. But I find that with like a lot of the recent horror is just sort of there for me.
And I have seen The Nightingale, and I did like The Nightingale a lot. So I do think Jennifer Kent is a talented filmmaker. I haven't seen the Cabinet of Curiosities that she directed, though. But I've not seen any of those. I need to get around to watching those, because I've heard nothing but good things about that series too.
Most of them were good. Most of them were
Mhm.
very good. There are a couple of dud ones. There was a really bad one, an adaptation of Dreams in the Witch House, which I thought was terrible. Directed by the astonishing talent that made the original Twilight film. Can't imagine why it didn't turn out better.
Doing
but
Lovecraft.
yeah, it's pretty bad. But the others are good. I think they're really interesting, so worth checking out.
Wow. Okay. I'm shocked that the filmmaker behind the original Twilight couldn't recapture that magic, you know?
Right.
I mean,
It's hard
wow.
to get lightning in a bottle twice.
It's true. That's true. But if anybody could do it, I thought it would be them. Let me throw something out at you guys. A lot of people in the chat are tossing around the Terrifier movies, and Terrifier has become a huge thing. Terrifier has probably become, you know, one of the biggest horror hits of recent, really. And they have those films have an enormous following. Are you guys fans of Terrifier and Terrifier 2? Mike, what do you Troy, I can see you. You're ready to you're ready to go. Hold it in.
Look, I'm a splatter guy, so of course I like them because they're just like they're so over the top splattery that appeals to me. I don't think they're high art or anything like that, but like if I want to watch a guy in clown makeup and that guy is really good in the makeup at being creepy and like saw chicks in half, like that appeals to my prurient interests, I guess. But I have not seen Terrifier 2 yet. It's been sitting on my stack. I bought it on Blu-ray, but I am petrified of the idea of 2.5 hours of Terrifier.
Listen, it only really bogs down in like the last, for me, it only really bogged down in the last like half an hour. I thought the first 2 hours went by pretty quick, and there was enough going on in those 2 hours to make it not feel like 2 hours. But that last act, it does go on and on and on, and it's pretty repetitive. And then they throw, well, I won't just watch it. Just watch it.
I mean, it's at the top of the stack. So
okay. All right. Go ahead, Troy.
Bogged down for me about 1 minute in and didn't let up.
He hated the logo, the title card.
It's all downhill from here. I thought the first one was okay for what it was. It was one of those things I watched and I said, well, I mean, it doesn't do to get too snooty about it. I mean, it's a guy in a clown makeup going around slaughtering people, and that's what it is. So we must look at it on that level. For what it was, I appreciate it. I like the old school prosthetic effects approach. It was, it's too much, and to me, it crossed a boundary. And not that I think that movies. I really don't. I abhor the idea that movies have any kind of moral obligation whatsoever. I mean, you can do whatever you want to do. I get a little uncomfortable sometimes when movies really just kind of dwell in a kind of repetitious sadism. And it's funny to say it because I love like Lucio Fulci, for example, and I go back to something like The New York Ripper, which I love, or the original Maniac, and films like that are gritty and grubby and they're nasty and they have a real mean-spirited edge to them, but they've got other things going for them. They've got other things on their mind besides that. I looked at these Terrifier films in the same way I did. I have to take Rob Zombie's name in vain again. I'm sorry, but his Halloween remakes, where it's not enough just to stab the guy. You've got to smash his head into little pieces. And you got to have the skull and bone fragments flying around. It's like, why? I mean, it's just that's too much.
That's a level of art that we just don't see in any other filmmaker's work than Rob Zombie.
It's true. Well, look, Mel Gibson did it in The Passion, so it's fine. Absolutely. The second one I did not like at all. I was really, really put off by the second one because that just really ramped everything up, and it got a little, to my mind, pretentious of what it was trying to do. And I didn't think the director quite had the chops to pull off some of the things he was trying to do with sort of dreams versus reality versus, a certain degree of symbolism that was being brought into it that I just didn't think worked in a way that reminded me of Halloween 2, to be honest with you, all that nonsense with the white horse. I don't know. It didn't work for me at all. I was very, very disappointed by the second one. Having thought the first one was okay, I didn't like the second one at all.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is my fear with that one.
I think you're going to be all right, Mike. I
Yeah,
think you're
I'll
going to be
probably
all
be
right.
okay with the splatter at least. So
There's
that's
a
a
lot.
plus.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
splatter.
There's a lot of splatter in there.
People
a
keep
wet
asking me to
movie.
do it on the show, and I'm like, man, it's a 2.5-hour movie. It'll be like a hour-long episode. Nobody wants to sit through that. So
No, listen, people do. I don't know. Terrifier is huge. People love it. I've been to two different conventions where there were Terrifier people, and they were swamped the entire time. It was like literally. I mean, they had like at one of the conventions, Robert Englund was there, and their lines were similar to a Robert Englund line. Like
wow.
people just flocked
Yeah,
to them.
he's definitely has become an icon really, really sort of quickly.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
get why. The guy is great in the role.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's creepy. I'm
Yeah,
not
he
even
is.
I think being afraid of clowns is stupid. I think clowns are stupid, but that guy is like genuinely creepy. So
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. I think Mike. Mike, we're back around to you, aren't we?
we're back around to me.
All right.
I have another one that will probably annoy people. I do not like. Actually, maybe that's not the nicest way to say it. I think the original Ring is meh. Ringu.
Okay.
The original. So just to give it some context, I used to live in the Bay Area. I used to go into San Francisco all the time to La Video, one of the great video stores. It's no longer there. Like, like the West Coast, sort of like the West Coast version of Kim's, I guess, is like, something like that. Not quite as big, but just a real movie nerd paradise. And so I used to go over there, and the guys got to know me pretty well. And so they would always, they would get like bootleg copies of things for the store because they just weren't coming out in America. And so that whenever they would get something like crazy from Japan or Europe or somewhere, they'd be like, we got to save this for Mike. And so I come in and they're like, they found Versus for me this way. So that's how I first saw Versus. But before that, I come in and they're like, we got this movie Ringu. Everybody's been talking about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard all about it. And I'm like, I got to see that. Like the idea, you get this tape, you watch it, you get the phone call, 7 days you're dead. That's creepy stuff. I love the idea of lost media and all that stuff and the urban legend things. And my problem with that movie has always been, and with basically a lot of that subgenre of Japanese girl ghost films, is that I think like the premise of it, the idea of the videotape and the call and dying is brilliant. And then you get to the end when you find out what actually has happened, and I'm so let down by it every damn time. Like it just does not, the end does not live up to the premise. So we had Wicker Man, the end is fantastic. The road up to it, maybe not so great. And then we get Ringu, where the end is not good and the premise is fantastic. So like what I've learned from preparing for this show tonight was that like making a film has a lot of moving parts, and if you don't get them all right, it tends to mess up the finished product. And so it's probably really hard to get them all right. And when someone does, we should appreciate those films more, because you see like these are still good films, but there's just something that's just a little bit off, and that kind of messes them up for certain audience, certain viewers. So but that one has always been a miss for me. The remake was a miss for me. And there's stuff in it that I love, like the image of her coming, the stuff on the tape is interesting, her coming out of the TV is interesting, really cool looking. But like when you get to the end and you learn what's actually happened, I'm so underwhelmed by it every damn time. So so it's just a meh for me.
And the American version you're not a fan of either?
No.
Okay. Troy, any thoughts on Ringu?
I agree with that. I'm probably a little bit over the whole Japanese ghost thing in general. The creepy little girls with the bangs and shuddery effects and whatnot. It's been done to death. I saw it again, something recently. I was like, this needs to stop. We need to find something. We need to find a new image to rape over and over again, as opposed to having this one all the time. It didn't do much for me. I was actually really disappointed, because it was one of those films that I came too late. I probably only saw it for the first time within the last 5 years or so. and I was aware of, it had a really good reputation. So I thought, okay, time to check this one off the list. I'll watch it. I just was very underwhelmed the whole way through. I think you're right. A bad ending can really, if not completely destroy a good film, it can certainly undermine it. You got to have a good opening to pull people in, and you got to have a good ending to send them home happy. If the in between's a little bit meh, you can kind of get away with that. But I agree. It's a lot of build up to not much of a satisfactory resolve, and yeah, it wasn't a film that I had any desire to look at again.
I remember the early 2000s when like the J-horror thing was really exploding here in the States. It was popping big time. Everybody was all about, Ringu.
Every boutique DVD label had they were trying to scoop up those movies, Arts Magic and all those guys. Yeah, they buried me in those movies, review copies of those movies back then.
I had some. I don't remember if I bought it off eBay or if a buddy sent it to me or what, but they sent me a tape that had like Ringu was on it, Ju-on was on it, Versus was on it. There were at least like 2 more movies on it. So it was an SLP mode. So I mean it was not good quality, but yeah, it was like a dub of a dub of a dub in SLP mode. So, but they weren't like anything I'd seen up to that point. I was always a slasher kid and like a serial killer kid. So like, seeing how their culture was more, into spirits and whatnot. And I really liked Ringu, but I agree that ending, when you find out what happened to little, what was her name?
Sadako.
Yeah. Was just kind of like, oh, huh.
Yeah.
Well, damn. Yeah, it's kind of like
my exact reaction.
Yeah,
that was if you recorded me in my living room in like, what was it, 1999, that was my reaction when we got to the end. How about that?
Yeah, like, okay, all right, cool. And like I even remember thinking, like, with like the American version, thinking like, oh well, they're gonna mix that up. They're gonna make it's gonna be bigger and louder, and like they'll get that ending. They'll give us like the typical like American horror ending. And they really didn't. So I still like the movie a lot. I don't revisit it very often, but I still like the movie a lot. You mentioned Versus. I freaking love Versus.
Oh, I love Versus. Yeah.
Oh yeah, great stuff. Yeah, great stuff. I'm not seeing a whole lot of love for Ringu. In the chat.
I'm glad I'm not alone.
Yeah.
You know what it is? I didn't put Halloween 3 on my list. That's what gets everybody fired up.
No, that would have got a few people.
Start.
I didn't put it on.
That would have got some people fired up, I'm sure. Let me do some shout outs to some people here. We got the Daily Ghost in the chat. What's up, Daily Ghost? Hope you're doing good, man. We got my buddy Chris from Slasher Home Video in the chat. We got my buddy Nick from the Lost River Drive-In in the chat. Hope you all are doing good. All right. So, Troy, what's next on your list?
Well, this one might get some people fired up, but you never know. I mean, maybe people are just sort of meh in general. I don't know. This is one of the big films of the 1990s, a movie that is kind of a pop culture institution at this point. And whether you've seen it or not, references to it. And it's just it embedded itself into the consciousness in that sense. And that's Pulp Fiction. I have to admit, I like some of Tarantino's stuff very much. I'm a big fan of Inglourious Bastards and Jackie Brown and Hateful Eight. Those 3 in particular, I really like. Reservoir Dogs. I've never really got on with Pulp Fiction all that much. If you could have an entire movie of just Samuel L. Jackson yelling at people, I'd love it because he's fantastic. Part of my indifference is down to the fact that I truthfully am not a big John Travolta fan. Apparently, there had been some thoughts or some dreams of trying to get, of all people, Daniel Day-Lewis to play that part. Now that I'd love, because Daniel Day-Lewis, I'd watch that man read the phone book for 2 hours. So I can't picture him in that part, but it would have been interesting because he can do no wrong in my book. I'm not a big Travolta fan though. Don't want to take shots at the guy because he's in the press for some unfortunate reasons these days, but I've never really been a huge Bruce Willis fan either. So there's a couple of significant plot strands there that just don't really, I don't really much care about it. The stuff with Jackson, I enjoy the bits featuring people like Christopher Walken and Harvey
Oh,
Keitel. Those I
yeah.
enjoy.
Mhm.
But it's essentially an anthology film, and most anthology films are inherently uneven. You usually get like one
Mhm.
great story, a couple of decent ones, and one or two bad ones. And I feel like that's the case here. It's just not a movie that I've ever really. Again, I wouldn't say it's bad. It's by no means a bad film, but I've never really understood why people were so nuts about it.
Mm. Yeah, but there were quite a few people on my social medias today who had Pulp Fiction listed as one of their
Really?
map movies. So yeah, there
Huh.
definitely was. So you're not alone
Not
there,
alone.
Troy. You are not alone. But the chat, I thought, hold on, let me find this comment here, because I thought that it was going to be me or Mike who got canceled tonight. Apparently, Troy is getting canceled.
It's
So,
okay. I'm used to it.
Well,
but,
I was terrified when he started his going into that, and he said it's a pop culture film from the 90s. I'm like, oh god, this is going to be one of two movies. It's either going to be Pulp Fiction or it's going to be Lebowski. And I'm like, please don't be Lebowski. So,
No. Lebowski is A-okay in my book.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, I have a complicated relationship with Tarantino. Like, I'm like Troy. I like his films. Like, I think Jackie Brown is his like masterpiece. I
I
think
love
that's
Jackie
the
Brown.
best thing he's ever done. It doesn't get the love it deserves. Everybody talks about Pulp Fiction or Reservoir Dogs or what came after Jackie Brown. So yeah, Pulp Fiction, I remember, like, again, saw it in the theater. I worked in a movie theater when it came out and we saw it, and it's good. But you know what? I've never gone back and revisited it. It's been like 25 years since I last saw it. And it's very uneven. Like, I do not care for the Bruce Willis with his girlfriend in the hotel, and any of that kills the momentum of that movie dead. Like, I don't like her. I like Bruce a lot. Bruce, I'm a huge Die Hard fan, but yeah, I don't like that. I like the peripheral characters a lot more than, like, obviously Samuel L. Jackson. They should have just followed him and Vincent the whole movie. That was the movie. But when Ving Rhames is really good in it, I think, in the little bit of screen time he has, and Walken and etc. But like that whole Bruce Willis, and then he gets in the basement, like, none of that. It just bogs down the movie, and it's so sort of just feels out of place to me. So, which is what I kind of find with a lot of Tarantino's sort of work, is like either he's borrowed so extensively from something else that it's hard to separate the source from what he's made, the homage.
Right.
But that one is like, I don't dislike it, but if I never see Pulp Fiction again, I'm okay with that. Like, I'll take the memories I have of it. Harvey Keitel being Mr. Wolf is great, and but like, yeah, the Bruce Willis part. If you gave me a cut where they cut out all the Bruce Willis parts, I'd probably like it more. So. And that's terrible to say because I love Bruce, but
yeah.
John McClane.
And I love Jackie Brown too. Jackie Brown's one of my favorite Tarantino films. It's also I think it's my favorite Samuel L. Jackson performance, because Jackson goes from like being like this cool guy, to like by the end of it, he's scary. He's legitimately scary. So I've always and I love De Niro as De Niro's character, and Bridget Fonda, and Pam Grier, Robert, and I've always loved Robert Forster. So
she did,
like,
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think so. She was bleeding, but yeah, I've always been partial to Jackie Brown, and that's one that very few people talk about. With Tarantino, it's Pulp Fiction, it's Kill Bill, Reservoir Dogs, you know what I mean, Inglourious Bastards. But like, it's like poor little Jackie Brown just gets lost in the mix.
And that's a
great,
tragedy.
Great soundtrack. That song Across 110th Street. Oh
yeah,
so good. The Delphonics, so good.
Great song. A great film it was written for, called, it was same title, Across 110th Street, from the early 70s with Anthony Quinn. That's well worth seeing. So yeah, I love that movie. It's funny because my best friend saw it long before I did, because I didn't see it for a number of years. He said, "Oh my God, it's so boring. It's so slow. It's just, and he just used to rail about how much he hated it." And eventually, I think it was after Kill Bill, I said, well, I need to see Jackie Brown. And I watched it. I was like, this is great. What the hell is he talking about?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Just goes
Mhm.
to show you.
Yeah. Yeah, great movie. Love it, love it, love it. Let's see, where are we now? Are we back on me? Or are we
Back on you.
Back on me? Okay. Perfect. Someone mentioned repetitious sadism earlier. And there's a movie that people love to death from back in the day. Well, it wasn't too long back in the day. That to me was just repetitious sadism that had one of those Ringu endings. And that's the movie Martyrs. That movie to me is like it's difficult to watch, and it's supposed to be difficult to watch, but it gets to the point where it's like, okay, so what is the point of all this horrible crap that's happening to this woman? And then the point is, well, she's supposed to see the beyond, right? And she tells the woman what the beyond is, and the woman offs herself. So what is the beyond, or what was the point of everything? And I hate that movie. I never want to watch that movie again. But there's a whole sect of people out there who swear by Martyrs. It's brilliant. It's the greatest movie ever made. It's blah 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 blah. And I'm just like,
I wouldn't
okay,
go that far, but
I think it's good.
Yeah,
I
I love Martyrs a lot. But I think what's interesting about it is because it's a bleak, depressing film made by a guy who was incredibly depressed when he made it. He'll tell you he was like practically ready to go to extreme lengths. And so yeah. And I love the ambiguity of the ending. Like I'm just it to me, like people always talk about, well, what did Scarlett Johansson whisper in Bill Murray's ear? And I'm like, I don't care about that. I want to know what she told Mademoiselle at the end. What's beyond there? Is there nothing beyond there? Is that why she went and did that? Or is there something there and she's in a hurry to get there? And like, we can sit there and debate that for days. And yeah, I like it, but I understand why people don't. It's not a pleasant watch. It's like Irreversible in that sense. Another film I like a lot that's not fun to watch ever. It's a depressing, hard film to get through, but yeah.
I'm a big Gaspar Noé fan. I've really been impressed. His most recent film that actually stars Dario Argento, called Vortex, was really something too. I thought quite good. And yeah, I mean his movies can be very, relentlessly going for the jugular. I think of something like Climax, which to me the Climax was much more much closer to what I thought a remake of Suspiria should have been than the actual remake of Suspiria was, in terms of the way it looked and the way it sounded and its just aggressiveness and everything. That to me was far closer to that kind of a thing. So Martyrs definitely was one of those movies. You could add in any number of other things. There was a movie called Inside, which was, oh my God, that made me wince. But I thought it was fantastic. I really liked it a lot. On the other hand, there was something like a Serbian film, which is quite well made. And I understand what he was going for and I understand what he was doing. But to me, after a certain point, it's just like, it's almost boring because you're hitting the same nail over the head over and over and over again. And it got to a place where it gets to the ending and we all know what happens at the ending. I knew that was going to happen because I realized early on, this is that film. This is going to go there.
That's where that guy's going to go with that film.
This is what's going to happen. And so when it happened, it didn't shock me. It was just like, of course, where else is it going to go? Naturally, this is what's going to happen. So you run the risk of that. There are films that are really in your face, confrontational movies like Ken Russell's The Devils that are incredible and powerful and deeply, deeply moving. And then there are movies like that, or even a movie like Pasolini's Salò, which is a movie I respect without much enjoying. I mean, it's, I don't know how, I had a tough day at work and then when I sit down and watch Salò, not that movies have to be about entertainment. They don't have to be, but there are some films that are just they're not enjoyable to watch. I can understand being put off by Martyrs, but I was impressed by, I guess there was an American remake, but I never saw it.
Terrible. Really bad.
I
finally went and saw it like 2 months ago because after I'd done it on the original on the show, I was like, all right, let's just go get this over with. Just absolutely fucking terrible.
I'm not surprised.
An embarrassment.
You mentioned Inside, And I really like Inside a
Yeah.
lot. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys recall, but the two guys who directed Inside, I forget their names, but
Bustillo and Maury.
yes, exactly. And they've directed some other good stuff after
Mhm.
that. Right around the time Inside came out and it was getting a lot of hype, they were supposed to be writing and directing the next Halloween movie.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
right.
remember watching Inside, and that first hour of Inside, I was like, okay, they finally made a good choice here. Like this,
Mhm.
this is who should be directing a Halloween movie here.
Well, it's like when
Um,
they had Logier attached to Hellraiser at the one point after he had done
Mhm.
Martyrs. Like he was the guy for that job. Why did this not, come together?
yeah, yeah. I don't know what happened with those two in Halloween, but I was like, thank God, like they've selected the
Somebody
right
who's going to
people.
get it right.
Exactly, yeah. And then they go, we'll just go back to zombie.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Back to zombie, then we'll give it to David Gordon Green, and
Then we
that
give it
makes
to
a lot of
David
sense
Gordon
too.
Green. Yep.
Yeah.
Screw those talented guys.
We don't need talented people who know horror films.
So
Yeah.
yeah, anywho. Yeah, Martyr's not for me, but I did like Inside a lot. I need to revisit Inside actually. But yeah, that the scissors and the navel and
Oh,
all
Jesus.
that. Yeah, that was like, ugh.
Lisa
So-
made it about 10 minutes into Martyrs, or not Martyrs, Inside when I was watching it, like way back in the beginning of the show. I was working on the script for it, and I'm like, oh, you should watch this. It's, like I gotta show you some French New Extremity stuff, and she made it 10 minutes.
But it's a Christmas movie too. That's
Yeah, it's a
great
Christmas
thing.
movie too. That's what I say all the
Christmas
time.
movie.
Yeah,
Gather everybody around to watch Inside on
can we
Christmas
stop
Eve.
arguing about Die Hard? This is the Christmas movie for
This
this
is
year.
the
We're
Christmas
watching
movie.
Inside.
That's it.
Irreversible, I couldn't make. Irreversible, I think I made it through 15 minutes at the most, and I was just like, yeah, I'm not in the mood for this. They're just not my mood at the moment.
I loved it,
Irreversible
but
is the
I
film
can
when you want to be
understand,
really
yeah.
depressed.
Yeah, Irreversible. Yeah, I was just like, not feeling this right now. I'll come back to it in 10, 15 years. And I don't remember a thing about a Serbian film. I think I've completely erased that movie from my brain. I don't remember a thing about it. Not a thing. Not even the ending. I don't remember that. I've completely just erased that movie. So
yeah.
I think we're on our fifth. Are we on our fifth movie each now?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. Mike, go ahead.
All right, well, so we kind of touched on this in the last segment here. It was on my dishonorable mentions list, a Serbian film. So I guess we'll just bump it up. So if you know me, I literally run a show called Sick Flicks that's about the most supposed to, before YouTube neutered me, it was supposed to be about the most disturbing movies ever made. Before YouTube said you can't do that shit on this platform anymore, dude. That was on my list of things to cover because it's one of those films that is like if you're a gore hound, it's your rite of passage. And like everybody on the internet's like, this is the most extreme movie ever made. And I'm like, no, this movie is bullshit. It's well made. To Troy's point, it's really well made, especially when you consider it was not made in America. It was made by filmmakers who were sort of working in as I understand it, in a sort of guerrilla style. They did not have all the tools we would have had here in America. I think it's a really well shot film, but I also think it's just repetitious sadism, to borrow a term, and I think it's just way too try hard. The baby scene to me is where it loses me every time because I'm like, that is so ridiculously stupid that how is anybody to start? It's just dumb. And so, to me, I go like, if, I'm old school. If like to me, Cannibal Holocaust is a way more disturbing movie than a Serbian film. And I think the argument for that pans out when you kind of argue that thing is that, Deodato got in trouble over that movie. People believed it was real. He had to go to court. He couldn't produce the actors. So that obviously had an impact. Nobody ever thought that about a Serbian film. So, I'm not a fan. I appreciate it. I think it's for what it is. I think it's a well-crafted film, but I don't think it works. I think it tries way too hard, and I think it's unpleasant for the sake of being unpleasant, which is not something I normally have a problem with, but I don't think it earns I don't know how to say this right. It doesn't earn my respect because I think it just tries too hard and it takes the easy path to trying to disturb me. I don't think it earns the reputation. I think they just kind of go into it and they're like, we're just going to pile one shock on top of another. And literally the end, Troy is right. The end, if you know this stuff, you're going to figure out what the end is going to be, 20 minutes in, because there's no other way for it to end with, from where it starts. So yeah, I know people love it. Or I don't know if love is the right word for a Serbian film, but I know people put it on their list a lot. And yeah, for me, it's never worked. I will argue that and die on that hill till the end of time.
Yeah, there was when I was talking recently about Terrifier 2, I put up a little post about it because, again, I wasn't a fan. And I likened it to, a bunch of sort of teenage boys sitting around trying to gross each other out, for 2.5 hours. And it's effectively what a Serbian film is as well. I mean, there's always going to be that percentage of the audience that's going to argue this is hardcore, balls to wall. This is for the serious, if you're a bunch of pansies, you shouldn't be watching this. Or, I mean, to me, there's nothing really interesting artistically or intellectually or anything about these films. They're just, it's just one kind of pandering thing after another. So to me, it's, it doesn't do anything for me. I mean, when I watched it, I came away from it. It was kind of similar back years ago. I saw, when I used to review for a website, I saw a film called August Underground, which was effectively, like they were trying to make it look like a snuff film. They were trying to make it look like it was a real sort of snuff film. And there's no plot. It's just one horrible scene after the other, after the other, after the other.
And then you get to Mortem.
Yeah, well,
the second one.
it is what it is. I mean, to an extent, I had to say, well, it's fine for what it is. I mean, it does what it sets out to do. But that doesn't mean that I had to find it very interesting or very engaging. Like, I watched it once, I'm never going to look at it again. So, that's pretty much how I think great films will bring you back over and over again, or even, decent films will bring you back over and over again. But films like that, it's just like, okay, I saw it once. I don't need to see this again.
Yeah.
I like August Underground way more than a Serbian film. Only because I think what Fred was trying to do in that movie, he didn't have any real artistic pretensions. I don't think. I think he was just trying to make something that looked like a fake snuff film and would fool people. And he was just going to pile on the gore and make it as unpleasant as possible. And where my problem with a Serbian film comes in again is like, working for a bunch of different film websites back when that film came out. Like everybody I knew who saw it at a festival came back that it was all this, it was the smart disturbing film. It had so much to say about the state of Serbia. And I'm like, you're kidding yourself if you think this has anything to say about the state of politics in Serbia or wherever. Like, this is just to gross you out. And that's fine, but I don't think it works.
Well, and there's a lot of movies that are just brutal for brutal's sake or brutality's sake. Like the whole point of the movie isn't the story or the characters. It's the effects. It's the gore. It's like, it's like you were saying earlier, Troy, we can't just stab somebody to death. We've got to stab them 95 times, then smash their skull into powder. And then we've got to urinate on them. And then we've got, what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one horrible thing after another. And it's all to get like, the heart. It was hardcore, man. It was brutal. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I was having a conversation with somebody about this the other day. Like there's a lot of those movies that people get behind and really push that there's just nothing to them but brutality after brutality. And what else is, I'm not saying I'm like an super intellectual guy, but it's like a fart joke. The first fart is funny. The fifth fart, I'm going, dude, what? Come on, like. What's the issue here? It's just one fart joke after another kind of deal. And I don't know. There's a lot of movies like that out there that people get behind, and it's not for me.
I like the brutal stuff, but I guess just it's like if you're gonna be brutal and that's the point of the movie, then just be brutal. Don't try to dress it up in a bunch of Emperor's New Clothes shit as far as the subtext and all that. Like, that's just, that movie just tries way too hard.
Yeah.
So
Ooh, what have you got left on your list, Troy?
Well, I'm reasonably sure this one's going to piss some people off because I felt like it was the movie everybody was talking about just a few years ago. It was okay. It was not anything that I thought was great. It's Joker with Joaquin Phoenix, 2019. Everybody was going absolutely ballistic over this film and over Phoenix's performance. And I think Phoenix is a wonderful actor, and I think he's given some great performances. But to me, Joker is him trying way too hard and really taking it to a level where it feels strained to me. And the film itself is a good example, in my opinion, of what happens when you make a film that's meant to be, sort of really tragic, downbeat, sad sort of film. And what happens if you keep layering on tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy, after a certain point, it starts to become almost funny because, it's a natural reaction. You kind of need to have a little safety valve. You need to have a laugh every now and again. And this just was so glum and gloomy and just continuously piling it on without any escape valves. I mean, it's very indebted to Scorsese. But it misses all the things that make Scorsese's films so magical. I mean, the obvious points of comparison are King of Comedy and Taxi Driver. And as bleak and dark a film as Taxi Driver is, it has its light moments. It has its moments where you can kind of laugh a little bit. You get that little bit of an escape valve. And King of Comedy is hysterically funny. It's still amazing to me that movie was such a colossal flop in 1982. I mean, it was gone from theaters in like a week. Everybody hated it. It's a great film. To me, Joker is one of those movies I'm watching. I'm like, this was reminding me of a lot of films that I like so much more. Why am I spending time watching this thing that is thinking it's so important? And you can just tell there's a pomposity to it, that this director, Todd Phillips, thinks he's making some deep statement. And apparently it did for some people. Some people really loved it. They're making a sequel now, which I guess is going to be a kind of a musical, quasi-musical. So that should be interesting. I don't know. It didn't do anything for me. And I know everybody and their grandmother loved it. So they're probably really going to tear me apart for picking that one. But that's my number 5.
Well, Troy, you've been canceled again.
Canceled. Toronto Freddy's got your number, Troy.
He does.
Canceled again.
Cancel King.
The king of cancel right there. I did really like the Joker a lot, and I liked Joaquin Phoenix's performance. And there's one scene in that movie that just crushed me, and it's the scene where he's talking to his case manager, and he's begging her to adjust his medication. Yeah. And she's like, well, there's just no money for it. And he's like, something bad is going to happen. Please help me. And she's just like, yep, no money. Close the book. Next. And like, I've seen those situations from the other side of the desk. And like that just like hit me as like a ton of bricks. Like, but I don't know. I'm on the side of, I'd have to revisit it, but I liked it a lot. There was a lot of controversy over that movie when it came out. There was a lot of people who didn't want you to see it because they were afraid it was going to incite riots and and that.
Yeah, that was ridiculous.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the Joker or just Joker, Mike?
I have not seen it, so I have not. So I tend to miss all the superhero movies at this point. Like which is so funny because like I've said before, I worked in a comic book shop. I almost bought 2 comic book shops in my younger years. And if these movies had come out when I was in my 20s, I'd have been like a pig in shit over them. But now they do nothing for me. So I'm like, they're long and I don't see them. So.
They got to be pompous a number of years back. They started to get really pompous, like with the Christopher Nolan movies. And again, I'm getting canceled. I know, because that's a sacred cow right there.
I can get canceled over Christopher Nolan with you.
Listen,
a bit much.
I'll defend the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, but it's all this new MCU stuff that to me is so preachy, and it's just looking down its nose at you, and it's telling you to do better, and it's just like I'm so burnt out, and I think most people are burnt out on the MCU stuff at this point. And it like I said, like you were saying, it's pompous, it's preachy, it's
I'm glad people get to see these things that I read in comic books, these stories from 30, 40 years ago that I loved. So I'm glad they at least get to experience them. I just always thought when we got to the point where we were spending $1 billion on a comic book movie that we would get better scripts in them and things like that. I just find them just overwhelming and loud, and they just wear me out. So
yeah.
I will defend the Nolan stuff though. But beyond that, I'm,
good old Nolan.
Good old. I call him. I just call him Chris.
Just call him Chris. You're on first name basis with him. We're not on first name basis.
Yeah. Don't make me call him up. I'll get him and Goyer in here together.
Right? Oh God,
they'll go after you guys. All right. Let's see. What have I got on my list here? I've actually got a couple I could pick from. I'm just going to throw this one out there because this was a big fan favorite from, I think, either last year or 2 years ago. Heard a lot about it, and I started watching it, and I messaged a friend of mine on Twitter, and I was like, man, I'm getting ready to just die. I'm getting ready to bail. And he goes, it gets better. And that was Malignant. I really was right off the bat. I was not into Malignant. I wasn't feeling it at all. It did get a lot better once she got in the jail. It definitely picked up, and I enjoyed it from there on. But at the same time, it was kind of a lost cause for me at that point. And I've had people say, well, go back and rewatch it knowing what you know now. And I'm like, well, but what I know now is that I really didn't like it. But I didn't know anything about it going in, other than it was James Wan, and so I was like, okay, James Wan, I'll go in blind, and I just was not into it at all. And then I saw that I posted something about it on Twitter, and I discovered that I was in the minority on not liking
it. Yeah, people love that movie.
Yes, people absolutely. Oh, well, looks like I've been canceled now too.
How have I not been canceled yet?
I don't know. Good question. The
Wicker Man crowd's asleep.
I guess so. They're all in the UK. It's not morning yet.
It's not morning, or they're old.
But yeah, I don't know. Not for me. Your guys' thoughts on Malignant?
I think your friend who made that suggestion to you was on the right track, because I had the same issue with it early on, that I don't think it starts out very interesting. But for me, by the time it's like the thing where it ends well, maybe it didn't start out well, but it gets to the good stuff. Unlike some of the other movies we've talked about tonight, it doesn't wait until the very end to get good. It does get there sooner. So I was a lot more forgiving of it, but I think you're right. The beginning part is not necessarily the most interesting part. So, but yeah, and so going back now, I would be like, yeah, okay, well, I know this first 20 minutes or whatever is not going to be my jam, but eventually it's going to get there, and I'm good with that. So I don't have a problem with it. I like it well enough. It's not like on my top 10 list or anything like that. People really went nuts over it. And obviously I had to see it eventually, and went oh yeah, that was a thing. I like it well enough, but not I don't own it. So
did it ever get a
I don't know. I never tried. It's probably one of those ones like The Night Comes for Us, where that one's I wanted to buy forever, and it's not available because it was a Netflix, and so they never release it physical. But
Troy, your thoughts on
where I saw it now?
Your thoughts on Malignant, Troy?
I haven't seen it.
Okay.
I have not seen it. I've seen other ones that people went gaga over that I was like, meh, yeah, all right, or I didn't care for it or whatever. I think I've upset enough people. I won't drag in any other titles. But I have not seen Malignant, so I can't comment on that one.
Okay, all right. Actually, Punisher Batman fan says it's got a Blu-ray and a 4K. Really?
Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I don't own it, but I streamed it somewhere.
So. I did not know that. Okay, cool.
That's the one of like all the recent ones that people have kind of gone gaga over that I like, okay, I kind of get this one. Why? Like maybe I'm not going to necessarily go gaga nuts over it, but like I kind of get why people, it resonates with them. But yeah.
Mike, I think you may have a couple extra in your back pocket. Do you want to throw one out there that might get you? Let's see if we can get Mike. Okay,
let's see if we can get me canceled.
Throw the one out there that's going to get you canceled.
All right. If we're gonna throw the one out there that's gonna get me canceled, I know what one it's gonna be, and it's Frank Darabont's The Mist. And I will tell you 100% why. I love that film. I think I love the story it's based on. Oh, we lost Troy there for a second, huh? I love what the book it's based on. I love the film itself until the end. I hate the end. I think, and everybody was like, "Oh, that end's so great. It's so cheap. It's such an O. Henry twist that's so ridiculous." I love the ending of the novella way more because they're like driving off into the mist. There's, dinosaur things out there and stuff, and I just like that ending. Just bugs the shit out of me. And I like Frank Darabont. I think he's generally a great adapter of King's work, and I know even King likes the film a lot, but the ending ruins it for me every damn time. So,
well, Mike, you've broken Brad's heart, but you've not been canceled yet.
I'm sorry, Brad.
You're a heartbreaker.
I like the movie a lot. If we could just take out like the last 10 minutes and like swap it out with something else, I'd be great. I'd love it.
When I first saw that movie, like I remember thinking, now that's a King ending, and then I found out that's not. In his book. Yeah, that's not a King ending.
His ending is way more like not optimistic necessarily, but it's not as nihilistic as the ending of the film. And
yeah,
I've always had this weird theory because Darabont was attached to direct The Long Walk for a long time. Like that was one of the Bachman books, and he's never gotten it off the ground. But that film that ending feels like something that should have gone with The Long Walk, because The Long Walk kind of ends the way King wrote it, in a sort of nihilistic way. And I always thought maybe that's just him putting that in because he never got to make The Long Walk. That's the only way I can make it make sense in my head for why he decided to do that. But like the rest of the movie is really solid, but the ending just irritates the shit out of me. So, and it has for years. Like I've had this argument a million times over the years. So, but I'm sorry, Brad. I didn't mean to break your heart, man.
Well, I'm not gonna fight you over it. I like The Mist. I'm okay with the ending. It's a pretty bleak way to end the movie. I don't know. I guess I kind of like that ending, to be honest.
I like the ending.
Well, it's weird because I like a lot of downbeat endings, but that one. So, and maybe this is just me because, like, I read Skeleton Crew in like what did come out in like 1986, and that was like the lead novella in it, and I must have read Skeleton Crew like multiple times that summer because you're off from school and it was the newest King book, and I just like to read horror stuff all summer, and I just read that one multiple times. And so The Mist really clicked with me at an age where I was a very impressionable young horror fan, and so I think I have just a real love for the novella, and then seeing them take the ending and like it, even if you like that ending, it makes the dad a very different character than what he is at the end of the book. So, and I think that's probably what my biggest problem with it is.
One thing I hate about like an adaptation is when they change, like, I mean, that's a pretty major detail that they changed, but like when they change like very minor details, like the guy in the book, he owns a dog, but in the movie he owns a cat. Like why is that necessary?
Why do you change that? Right? Yeah.
Is that the screenwriter taking artistic liberty or something? Like I don't like, or they'll change like, well, in the book he in the book he's very much, King describes him as he's a redhead, but in the movie he's blonde, I don't know, just silly stuff like that. Like why change those little details? But like it happens in so many, especially King adaptations, I've noticed.
Oh
like, yeah. Or they cast Donnie Wahlberg to play the one guy in Dreamcatcher. Like,
oh god, that was a terrible film.
Yeah. Not that he was bad in it. It's just like, Donnie
But
Wahlberg?
why? Donnie
Yeah.
Wahlberg.
Yeah. Yeah. Your thoughts on The Mist, Troy?
I think it's one of the better King films, to tell you the truth, and I love the ending. I don't have a problem with it. I guess I kind of appreciated that a mainstream sort of Hollywood genre film at that stage was willing to go that dark, which shocked me. Emotionally, I found it very, very effective. I mean, it's quite a kick to the gut, and it's a film that also gets a lot of points for me because it creates characters that are worth caring about and that you have some sympathy with, and so, even small part. I mean, there's a lot of really good actors in the film, giving good performances. Andre Braugher, Toby Jones. There's some good people in that film, and they all kind of make their characters work. Even Marcia Gay Harden, who's playing a total stereotype, but she's very effective doing it. And I've known people like that, so I totally believe that character. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's one of the better King films, to tell you the truth.
So it's interesting, like, as I think about it, I think with the ending, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody who hasn't seen it, I think if the thing that had happened at the end had happened and it ended there with him outside of the car without the people pulling up, I think it would have worked more for me, because you'd still have that sort of open-endedness. And like, I think the fact that the people pull up afterwards kind of is what ruins it for me. It just feels sort of like O. Henry-ish, I guess, or Shyamalan-esque.
Ooh. Okay. Brad is throwing you a bone here, Mike.
All right.
He'll forgive you only if you do a sick flicks.
All right. I've got the great alligator on the docket, so I guess we can get alligator 2 in there somewhere. So
the mutation. I'll go ahead if you can think up one more. Think of one more, Troy. I'll go ahead and throw one of mine out there. And I've actually got a couple, but I'm going to. You mentioned a Shyamalan, and I've actually got a Shyamalan. But what's funny about Shyamalan is that even the movies that people seem to really love about his back in the day, it's like now they hate him.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I should throw that out there or not, but so I'm just going to throw out my other pick, and that's A Quiet Place.
Ooh.
I thought that movie was really overhyped, and like it's an okay monster movie. It's okay. It's just okay to me. But that was another one that was like on a lot of people's like best of the year lists, and people really raved about it. And I saw it and I went, it's okay. Yeah. and I was not, and people loved the sequel too. And I was just like, I was like, the sequel to me is not okay. But I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the Quiet Place movies. And I think they're going to do a third one. They are doing a third one.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they are. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so The Quiet Place for me is very meh.
See, that's what I haven't seen. So,
But
I know everybody went nuts over it, and yeah, I have not watched that one because like I have a hard time keeping up with the newer stuff. So,
and I mean, I love I love the cast. I mean, John Krasinski. What's the lady's name? She's Rachel's, or it's his real life wife. I forget, and I think he directed it too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I liked the cast. There were things I definitely liked about it, but it just, for me, I don't know. It was just okay. That's it. And okay, I'll throw out there The Sixth Sense. That was my other one. I've always hated The Sixth Sense. I walked out of the theater after watching that movie, like laughing, and I turned around, looked at my two buddies, and they were like wiping tears from their eyes. And people were in the lobby. People in the lobby were crying.
Yeah.
Over that movie. And I've never gotten it. Emily Blunt. Thank you, Toronto John. I can't believe I forgot her name. But yeah, so that was the other one on my list. But I don't think people love The Sixth Sense anymore. For a long time, they did. Yeah. For a long time, they did.
There was a big kind of backlash against Shyamalan after a certain point. Yeah. To be fair, because he started making really kind of crappy movies. But I will say I did go to see A Knock at the Cabin last weekend. I think it's only like the second film I've seen in a theater since COVID started. And I have to admit, I liked it. I actually thought it was really interesting. I was impressed with that one. I was not nuts about Sixth Sense. I liked Unbreakable. I didn't like The Village. I didn't like The Lady in the Water, and I missed a bunch of other ones. I never saw Signs, for example. So I can't say that I've ever, really familiarized myself with all of his work. But I did like Knock at the Cabin. But the thing with Sixth Sense, of course, everybody went nuts over it because of the twist. And, even at that age, I was like, there are films that I'd seen that had already done that. I won't mention the films. I don't want to ruin them for people who maybe haven't seen them. I was like, I saw this in a movie that was made back in the 60s. Like, I mean, why is this such a big deal? But, it was okay, but it certainly wasn't something that I was ever in love with.
But people were like, I thought I was, it felt like I was in a dream or something. Like people were crying at this movie that I was laughing at, you know what I mean? Like it had really hit an emotional, it really hit him. So, and it just did not me.
You're a cold man.
I impressed everyone because I guessed the twist because I had seen other movies with that twist. I guessed it like 15 minutes in because I'm like, this is off and I know why. And then everybody's like, at the end, you cheated, you looked it up. And I'm like, no, I just have seen a lot of movies. So it's not that original.
Oh, look, I've been canceled again.
Oh, this is canceled.
Damn.
Blood Eagle says you're done.
Yeah. Ken says I do not see dead people. That's right, I don't. I don't. So I just don't. Did you come up with one final one, Troy?
I did. I was tempted to mention something recent, but I don't want more people clamoring for my blood. So I'll go a little more old school and pick a movie that I don't know how beloved it is anymore. I don't know if it ever really was all that beloved, but it has inspired like 20 sequels, and that's the Amityville Horror. I am not a fan of the original Amityville Horror. I like the second one very much. I think the second one's a very interesting movie, but the first one is not very good. I'll give James Brolin all the credit in the world. He's acting his heart out in that movie, and God love him. He's trying. Rod Steiger clearly realized what he was doing and just gives the most laughably overblown performance of the flies and everything. Oh my God. I mean, it's, Rod Steiger was a great actor who could be really bad, and he's really bad in that film. I don't get it. To me, it's always felt really flat, like a made for TV movie. It just doesn't work. It's not atmospheric. It's not scary at all. But here we are in the 21st century, and that first one came out, 1979, and it was a big hit. It made a lot of money, and it was very, very successful. I don't know how popular it is now, but they're on. I honestly, I think they made about 20 sequels to that thing at this point. So, I mean, so obviously some people love it.
Yeah, that was almost on my list.
That was on my list, but I took it off and replaced it with something else. But yeah, I've never understood the Amityville thing. That movie to me is just boring. It's just boring.
2 is way more interesting. The sequel, it's way sleazier. It's way more interesting. It's got a better, it gets into the DeFeo backstory, which is always more interesting to me. I say all the time, the only thing I care about with Amityville Horror at this point is I'm just interested in the background of the hoax of it and how they, how everybody's fighting with everybody over it. And, it's a bunch, it's like a grifter, cornucopia there.
Exactly.
You got the Warrens in there, and you got these other psychics, and you got the Lutzes, and I'm fascinated by that, but I don't give a shit about the movie. So
The second one, they got this really interesting Italian director to do it, Damiano Damiani, who made really interesting politically committed films in the 70s, really serious films. And he must have owed some back taxes, or Dino De Laurentiis had something on him or something. He's like, hey, come and make it this movie. And he gets into the spirit of it. He makes it, the first half of the film is like this fantastically sleazy disturbing, incest-ridden sort of psychological horror thing. And then after that, it goes into another Exorcist ripoff, but it's a pretty quality Exorcist ripoff. So that one's actually good. Burt Young is really
Burt
good
Young
in
is
that,
great
playing
in
the
it.
father.
Yep.
Written by Tommy Lee Wallace.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah,
gosh,
it's a good film.
It's legit good.
we've done it. All three of us.
All three. Amityville's what got us canceled.
Amityville's
Of
what
all
got it.
things, not A Clockwork Orange, it's the Amityville Horror.
Right.
Wow.
I'm stunned. I'm willing to get canceled over Amityville.
It's a hill I'm willing to die on.
And you mentioned the whole hoax thing, like,
Yeah.
It's been common knowledge for decades that was all complete BS. You know what I mean? Like the author of the book was like, oh yeah, they made it all. They told us it was all bullcrap, and you know, like members of the DeFeo family have admitted it, and like I think Ed and Lorraine Warren went to their grave, like, you know, saying, oh no, it was 100%. You really, you know, so.
But speaking of Ed and Lorraine, The Conjuring almost made my list because of Ed and Lorraine. Just making a movie like how we've turned them into folk heroes.
Into heroes,
yeah, is wild to me.
It's just a mediocre film.
Yeah. So
I like this sequel to The Conjuring more. Part 2, I like it better.
Part 2 was yeah.
So, wow, what a show it's been. We've been canceled multiple times. But you know, I will say this. The chat has been very kind in their cancellation of us. But it's been a really, really fun show. And so my plan is to do more of these on a periodic basis, to have some guests come on for a Sunday stream, and we all talk about a specific topic, and hopefully have as much fun as we've had tonight, and hopefully it'll be as much fun for the chat too. So I've seen a lot of new names in the chat. I've seen a lot of people who don't chat very often, who are being very chatty tonight. So that's great. I'm really happy about the turnout, and thank you all for 110 likes on the stream. I appreciate that.
Give them a thumbs up. It helps.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. It definitely does. Oh gosh, I've lost somebody. I've lost a friend.
I'll be damned if I put up with this Amityville bashing.
Actually, okay. So Brad is uncanceled us. Thank you, Brad. We appreciate that.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Well, let me do
Alligator 2 coming some point this year.
Coming soon, the mutation. Let me do some shout outs here, and then we'll call it a night. Shout out to my buddy Nico for the $10 super chat. Shout out to Tac Dad for the $1.99. Thank you, Thomas Case, for the $2. Thank you, Horror Orman, for the $2. Thank you, Parker Allen, for the $4.99, and thank you, Thomas Case, for the $2 super chat. Really appreciate that, y'all. If you've not dropped a like on the stream, please do so. Troy, where can we find you on social media? Where can we find your work? Where can people support you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook. That's pretty much the only thing that I do. I don't do Twitter. I got rid of Instagram. It's too much of a time killer, you know. So Facebook, I'm on there. And certainly you can find my books on Amazon. Over 160 audio commentaries out there at this point. I mean, they're all available on Amazon as well. You know, covered a wide variety of genres, a lot of Italian stuff, obviously, because that's my specialty, but other things as well. So there's all kinds of stuff out there. If you want to hear me droning on, there are many options for you to do so.
I was going to give a shout out. Do you want to mention any upcoming commentaries for releases that have at least been announced that you can?
Well, I'm inspired by your shirt, so I must mention 88 Films is doing a 4K of Burial Ground with the immortal Peter Bark. This 4K smells of death, and it will have myself and Nathaniel Thompson and Eugenio Ercolani on the commentary track, extolling our passion for the film and our knowledge of said film. So that's one that should be coming out at some point this year. 88's also doing a beautiful remastered version of Mario Bava's The Whip and the Body, which I'm going to be on with Nathaniel Thompson. there's a lot coming. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's also set to be recorded. Some titles. Oh yes, the recent Blue Undergrounds, Jess Franco's. There's Justine, and Philosophy in the Boudoir, which obviously come with my very firm endorsement. If you like Jess Franco, you're interested in that type of film. Those are good ones, especially Philosophy in the Boudoir, which previously was known as Eugenie, the story of her journey into perversion. Features Christopher Lee in a role that he claims he didn't know what type of film he was doing. He knew perfectly well what he was doing, but that's okay. We love him dearly anyway, and it's a good film.
I just watched Justine for the first time the other night. I'm going to drop a review of it probably tomorrow. But the Jack Palance performance in this, just
the pursuit of pleasure.
Yes, pleasure.
He was drunk out of his mind. I'm sure of it.
He was, according to Franco, he was drunk the whole time.
I believe it.
I believe it too. I believe it too.
Christopher Lee thought it was a Marquis de Sade film.
I had no idea what I was. Oh, you did too. Come on, it's all right. We love him anyway, and it's a good film. So yeah, a little on the sleazy side, but that's Jess Franco for you.
That's Jess Franco.
That's why we love him.
Mike, where can we find you on social media?
You can find me right here on the old YouTube over on the Horror Geek channel. So where I do sick flicks. We got some new shows coming in development this year. A new podcast, Deep Cuts, which will be me not telling you a bunch of dad jokes, but explaining why certain movies are good or certain elements of movies are good. Fewer dad jokes though. Yeah, so you can find me there. I will also be at Atlanta Comic-Con this weekend, the 24th through the 26th. So if you're in Atlanta, come by and say hi. I have a booth, have a panel. Doing a panel with James O'Barr from The Crow, so that's gonna be fun.
That's cool.
So yeah, super excited about that. And you can also find me on Twitter at Horror Geek, and Facebook, Mike Bracken, Instagram, Geekpocalypse. I'm everywhere, man. I'm a multimedia. I'm a multimedia guy.
There you go. Yeah, all over the place. Let's see who's still with us here in the chat. We've got Brandon Loves the Movies, Tanker Yanker, Honky Tonk. I can't even pronounce that.
Oh, Honky Tonk's here. I know him.
Yeah,
Brandon too.
Yeah,
Skredonk.
Skredonk. There we go. All right, Honky Tonk. We got Ross Jordan in the chat, Jason Lane. We've got my buddy Dan from Flesh Wound Features. We got my buddy Chris from Slasher Home Video, Toronto Freddy, Blood Eagle, Barrett 8. We've got Justin Murad, Ken Goldsbly, Jill Talk Sick, Mike McWong, The Daily Ghost, Dying Breed, Jobu, Jack Hunter, Christopher Snyder. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. This has been a lot of fun. And Troy, Mike, thank you guys again for hanging out with me. And this has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, right on. Again, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys later. Have a great rest of your nights and good week. So take care. Peace. And now I can't find my outro video. There it is.